Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I explain to you why the Pokemon trading card game expansion Call of Legends could potentially be one of the most underrated and undervalued sets in the Pokemon trading card game market today, even after the incredible price increases that happened during 2020 and early 2021. Now, today's video is based on two things, speculation and my opinion. Basically, I went through the effort of really looking at the availability of packs, the current market, what people are saying, what people are chattering about, what the big influencers in our hobbies and communities are really saying, and as a result, I came to one main conclusion. And that is that for all of the hype surrounding Call of Legends, I still think there is tons of opportunity for growth. Now, what does that mean? You should expect to see a lot more hype around this set in the future, and probably more importantly, if you can afford it, or you can catch it on a downward turn, now might be a great time for you to invest in Call of Legends or add it to your collection before prices continue to rise. So, without further ado, let's go into taking a really in-depth look into Call of Legends, learning a little bit more about it, and finally explaining why it is potentially one of the most underrated and undervalued sets in the trading card game today. Now, for those who don't know, Call of Legends was a set released on February 9th, 2011. The card set has 109 cards, and it's set number 47 in the English TCG. Interestingly enough, it's one of very few sets that was never given a Japanese equivalent. Effectively, Call of Legends was a sort of bridge gap or stopgap between the transition from the 4th generation to the 5th generation. So in the English TCG, Heart Gold, Soul Silver Triumphant had just been released, and Black and White was not scheduled for release for a little bit. As a result of this, Pokemon decided that for the English TCG, what they would do is they would basically reprint a set of cards mainly from the Heart Gold, Soul Silver era and throw in some additional spicy chase cards in order to kind of bridge the gap and give English trading card collectors and English players something to obsess over while Black and White was premiered in Japan and came over here to the United States. As a result of this, Call of Legends is notorious for having very small print runs as well as very small overall supply. Again, they really weren't pushing this as a major set. This wasn't really anything that was going to be here to stay. They just needed a reprint set to basically keep the English trading card players busy while the Japanese got Black and White, and then within a couple of months, Black and White came right over here to the United States as well. Just as a quick show of that exact concept, you'll see that, well, that's awkward. Guru Meditation, well, that's really awkward. I feel like I'm going on the Pokemon Center site, right? Am I right? Am I right, friends? In case anyone's curious, the main joke is what a absolute horror show the Pokemon Center site has been recently with the release of Shining Fates. So if you go on, you can get like banned in 20 seconds if you try to refresh the page too often. Anyways, so as you can see, Call of Legends was released in February of 2011, and literally 2 months later, we got the release of Black and White here in the United States. So again, because of this, very small print numbers, and that's really the main takeaway that you should think about when you hear the name Call of Legends. Small print run and a stopgap set between the transition from 4th to 5th generation. Now, if we go over onto the good old YouTube, wow, I'm off today. If we go over to eBay, what you'll see is a variety of listings, some of which are fun and others of which are really kind of confusing. So one of the things to note is that apparently there are a lot of French booster boxes out on the market, some of them for quite a large price. So that is a $6,000 French booster box. There were also some additional products that were released with Call of Legends packs in them. Not something that's very surprising. Very frequently, packs will get mixed in, especially when they print a little bit extra and they have some left in the distribution centers. What they'll do is they'll create a variety of product to place these things into, and then occasionally they will also mix it in with the next generation. So there are actually some tins that exist from the Black and White era that have Call of Legend packs in them. More importantly, you'll see that the booster boxes have been listed, and my, oh my, a $20,000 booster box is the current market asking price. Now, bear in mind, that doesn't mean that is the actual price of the cards. That just means, you know, there's a person out there that is willing to part with their booster box for $20,000. In addition to that, if we go over and check the sold listings, one thing I will note is that very recently these two boxes sold, rather, the ones up top for $7,000 and $6,500. But the issue that I have with these is that the numbers have been adjusted downwards as bidders have not paid. And then the other thing I noticed is that for one reason or another, both of these listings say that the item or that the auction was ended because the item sold. Now, in theory, the only way an auction ends is at the end of the auction when the item sells, which leads me to believe that the sellers of these boxes listed it on eBay, but are probably on Instagram or in the Facebook groups, and what they did was they basically sold it elsewhere and then just ended the auction on eBay, and that's what gives you these artificially low prices. Now, scrolling back, the one that I do know has been paid and is confirmed as being paid is this box from Fido, who is a rather popular eBay seller who came about right with like the surge in the popularity of Pokemon. And his box sold for $11,900, so let's just go ahead and call that a $12,000 booster box. Again, because of this one selling for that much, all of the other eBay sellers have since adjusted their stuff upwards, and as you can see, there's a very specific sort of format for how they're sort of selling this stuff. But at the end of the day, they adjusted their prices based purely on when Fido sold his for about $12,000. So in the grand scheme of things, there is also that. But you might still be asking, well, Ryan, okay, great. We see the prices they're selling for. We see the prices they're asking for. We get that it is a low print set. But what really separates this from other low print sets? Well, friends, let me tell you. So first things first, I think it's important to get a good understanding of what is in the set itself. So the set, like I said, is mainly reprints. So a lot of the cards that you're going to see are actually reprints from the Heart Gold, Soul Silver era. The only distinguishing factor with them, and I'll open up one of these so you can see it, is that they have a really weird kind of pattern on them. So if I open this image in a new tab, you'll see that there's almost a light fade on the card's border. So instead of it being pure yellow, like many cards usually are, what you'll find is that it has a almost like Declaration of Independence, old weather paper type of vibes, and that's really what they were going for with this Call of Legends set. But all things considered, that's not even the main takeaway from this set. There are two different sets of cards at the back of this set that actually set this stuff apart. So the first is going to be these energy cards, and these energy cards are holographic or reverse holographic cards that are in the set. As you can see from this image, they do belong to Call of Legends and they do sit within the actual set itself. But what's important to note about these is that they are, again, reprints from the original Heart Gold, Soul Silver run, but they're holographic. And what's really cool and distinct about them is that each one of them has a Pokemon or two from that particular energy type, as well as some, something or the other related to the location. So in this particular case, you got Ho-Oh, but you also have the Burn Tower, which is a really, really cool and distinct type of energy card. Again, if you wanted to see another one, we could just open this up super quickly, and this Espeon, again, doesn't necessarily have like a specific place to it, but you'll see that the Psychic Energy has an Espeon, which is obviously from that type, and then it has like the sun and like a little beach kind of vibes going on. Again, looks really cool. I assume there's some sort of relation there between Morning Sun, which is a Pokemon attack that Espeon can learn. But you get the idea. The idea is that each of these cards is really unique, really distinct, and the fact that they're holographic on top of that makes them really chaseable. Now, hi Flo. The other big thing, obviously, that is probably the elephant in the room, honestly, are the shiny legend cards. So let's go ahead and open one of these up on screen and then we'll talk about it. So at the very back end of the Shining Legends expansion, there is also a quote-unquote secret set called SL, and I've taken that to mean Shining Legends or Shiny Legend card, but effectively what it is quite literally a holographic shiny Pokemon. So what's really cool about these cards is that they look just like the older EX era Pokemon cards. They also look like the Prime cards, etc., etc. But what's really distinct about them is that, unlike in the past when it was just a regular Pokemon, this is one of the first times that shiny Pokemon cards, or shiny Pokemon, were featured on Pokemon cards. So again, we did have the shining Pokemon from the Neo sets, and then later in Black and White they would make more use of shiny Pokemon as sort of a rare, unique collector's card. But this is one of the first widespread rollouts other than the shining Pokemon of the second generation. So what's really distinct is that within the set you had a total of 11 legendary Pokemon that were featured as shiny cards. Now, in addition to this, there were 3 different tins that were released, and each of the tins had one of the 3 legendary dogs. So in addition to the Suicune, Raikou, and Entei that you can get in the set, there are additionally different variants of that card that are promo cards that have different artwork. But you did get a Deoxys and a Rayquaza, you did get a Palkia and a Dialga, you did get a Kyogre and a Groudon, a Ho-Oh and a Lugia, and the 3 legendary dogs. So up till then we had about 4 major generations of Pokemon, and you had representatives from each of the different generations, which again is really cool. So all things considered, it made for a really unique set, and again, when you think about it, you can really kind of describe Call of Legends as a sort of early precursor to the Hidden Fates and the Shining Fates that we see nowadays, because again, a lot of the stuff is very similar. You have a main set of trading cards that you're actually not there for. You're actually there for the stuff that comes in the sort of secret vault or the, special add-on that you can get from that set. So it behaves in a similar way to Hidden Fates. It has a lot of the same type of perks and special shiny Pokemon, and because of that, it's become a major collector's item that a lot of folks are chasing. Now, finally but not least, you might say, okay, Ryan, that's cool. There's some really nice cards in the set. Okay, Hidden Fates has the same thing too. So why is this set continuing to be so undervalued? Well, the answer to that comes from the pop report on Call of Legends, which you can see on screen right now. So, as I had stated before, Call of Legends was, comparative to everything else, a relatively small set. So not a lot of cards were printed, not a lot of sets or print variants were released. Again, the idea is that it was just meant to be a 2-month filler for the English folks. As a result of that, only 3,000 cards have been graded so far, right? And only 635 of those 3,200 cards or so are PSA 10. So that means there's about a 1 in 5 chance of getting a PSA 10, but that's not really why we're here. Now, in case anyone's curious, if you can get a Clefable reverse foil, it is only pop 1, and if you get a PSA 10, it is truly a, pop 1 of 1, so that'd be pretty cool. And you can see many of these cards have not been graded before. Again, bear in mind that many of these cards, there's a reason why they haven't been graded, and that's because no one cares. Again, no one is probably going to want a Clefable reverse foil and think to get it graded right away. But if I can draw your attention to the bottom of this page, you'll see why those low population numbers are actually quite significant. So, as mentioned, the Shining Legend set is really what the big call is when it comes to Call of Legends. Effectively, this is what everyone's chasing. And as you can see, the highest population for the 11 cards is a whopping 25. The second highest is a 24, and the lowest, at least according to this video on this day and PSA's data, is 14. So that means that there are only 14 sets of Call of Legend PSA 10s that can currently exist out there in the world. It's going to be limited by the lowest number. And this is truly why I think this set continues to be so viciously underrated and undervalued. Because currently, these numbers are actually lower than that of the Gold Star cards. So a lot of people call the Gold Star cards sort of the premium collector's item and the best chase cards in all of Pokemon history, and admittedly they are. I will admit the Shining cards, the Shining Legend cards out of Call of Legends, they come in at about 2 per booster box if you're lucky. So it's quite strange how they can be so popular and so easy to pull, at least compared to today's standards or the standards of the Gold Star era. And yet for some reason, the population report seems to indicate that not a lot of these are getting graded. Again, my theory when it comes to this is that even though these cards might be easy to pull, they're incredibly difficult to grade. Again, look at this differential here. You have 105 or 104 Palkia PSA 9s, only 14 10s. Same concept with the Raikou, same concept with the Rayquaza. Looks like Suicune might be a little easier to grade, but for the most part, what you're going to find is that there are several numbers that are higher in the PSA 9 category, but very, very low in the PSA 10. And I think the fact that these cards are hard to grade, and the fact that only so few of them exist as PSA 10s currently, makes for a really, really interesting situation playing out in the future. Because as PSA 10s get harder and harder to come by, as PSA has kind of indicated with the fact that their grading has just gotten a lot harder over the past couple of years, it's going to be increasingly harder to make more of these. So effectively, if these numbers hit 30 by 2030, it would actually surprise me. Because again, the boxes are getting more expensive, and even when you pull the cards, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a PSA 10, especially now and looking into the future. So, what does all this mean, friends? I think Call of Legends is continuing to prove itself to be one of the most interesting and perhaps one of the most investable, relatively modern Pokemon card sets that exist out there. Bear in mind that Ultra Vintage would be defined as WotC era stuff and EX era stuff, but when you look at Call of Legends, it's, only about 10 years old, and that sounds crazy to say, but it is 10 years old, and it's about a $12,000 booster box right now. All that said, it has a lot of potential for the future with a very distinct set of Pokemon cards, shining legendary Pokemon which have proven themselves in recent days to be some of the best Pokemon to put in a set to make it collectible, and on top of all of that, hilariously difficult ultra rares to grade, as well as hilariously low population reports that mean that these cards are going to be a focal point for collectors, especially once Gold Star cards and some of the older holographic first edition cards move further and further out of the affordable range that most collectors will try to invest in. So, with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out today's video. This is my second of these type of CardVault-ish videos that I've done. Check out the Deoxys one if you want. It's pretty neat. But I figured I would shine a spotlight on a different set from a different generation, completely out of the random, but something I thought I wanted to share with folks, especially if you have been thinking about investing. I personally think now is a good time, mainly purely out of the idea that once people realize these numbers are so low, and if one YouTuber says a little too much, it's absolutely going to explode in price again anyway. So, in the grand scheme of things, I think that's how that's going to go. For this week, we did this video today. Next up, we're going to be doing on Thursday a return to normal video. So I'm going to ask the question, how does the Pokemon card market return to normal? So that's going to be a two-part video where we're basically going to do the vintage part of the market this week, and then we're going to do the modern part of the market in a following week. And the reason for this is because both of them are substantial enough topics that it couldn't be done in one video. I figured let's make another two-part video and see what happens. And then, lastly, for this week, we're going to be doing a back to basics video where we're going to be looking at 3 essential habits or things that a seller or a buyer should be doing. So we're going to kick off this series on the buyer side and take a look at 3 things that buyers should be doing to have a good experience as a buyer in the Pokemon card community. But with that said, friends, thank you again for checking out another video. As I always say, you could have been anywhere on the internet, but I appreciate you taking the time out and spending some time with me. As always, if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed today's content, feel free to leave a like on the video, but more importantly, subscribe, because that's fun to do. And with that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video, and we'll talk soon. Peace.